With a lot to talk about over the next 60 minutes on over 260 affiliates across the United States and Canada. Hello to our friends watching north of the border. Those of you that may be watching on YouTube, courtesy of the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel, we appreciate you as well. A lot to get to, as I said. Wednesdays are going to be busy days now because we've got David Aardsma, former big league reliever and closer, for our new weekly MLB segment, Sports Wrap Inside Baseball. And we have Kurt Heelan of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com joining us every Wednesday to talk about the NBA until NBA season winds down. So there is a lot going on Wednesdays. So there was a lot to talk about. Sam Yarnell will obviously be here as well, help us out with the baseball conversation. We've got odds and ends coming up a little later on in the program. But we start things out as we always do on this Wednesday. It's time for the big story. And the big story today begins something a little bit different. I want you to look at your screen. And you'll see somebody on the screen who is not a professional athlete, that is not some star wide receiver, quarterback, or pitcher, or shooting guard. That is Frank Barabbas, who is on your screen. Frank was a friend of mine who was killed by a drunk driver 7 years ago while riding his motorcycle in Connecticut, down on the shoreline in Connecticut. I went to school with Frank. I knew him for a long time. We reconnected after high school, and after not having talked for many years, me and him and a group of other people from high school had reconnected in recent years, and had started, having gatherings and get-togethers and things like that, and we had group texts and things like that. Frank was killed by a drunk driver about 7 years ago, and very rarely does a day pass where I don't have a thought about Frank, whether it's because I think of his mother, who still mourns his loss, his loved ones that still mourn his loss, or when the story about a drunk driver just comes up, my thoughts immediately flash back to the loss of Frank. Thousands of people every year lose their lives through, DUI crashes. And we often think of DUI in the terms of drunk drivers. Somebody who drinks too much, gets behind the wheel, and winds up killing somebody. But DUI is more than that. You could be under the influence of something other than alcohol that causes you to be impaired and then kill somebody as a result. Which brings us to Tiger Woods and the story that took place last Friday that took the sports world by surprise. This story of him flipping over his car, Jupiter, Florida, not far from where he lives, passing somebody on a narrow road, clipping the corner of the trailer of the vehicle that was in front of him, or to the side of him in this case, flipping his car over on his side. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. Tiger wasn't hurt. The person whose vehicle he clipped wasn't hurt. But this is now the third time. And there's now been several instances of Tiger Woods putting himself in these sorts of situations where we've been fortunate that so far the only person that's been hurt in these incidents was Tiger, and we're even more fortunate that Tiger hasn't killed himself in any of these incidents. He damn near lost his leg in the incident back in February of 2021 when he basically flung his vehicle off of a cliff and severely injured his leg, something that he's never really been able to recover from. So I bring all of this up in the context of the news that came out yesterday. And there were two pieces of news that came out yesterday when it comes to Tiger Woods. The first piece of news was that Tiger decided he wants a trial by jury. He's pled not guilty in this DUI case, in which breathalyzer showed he didn't have any alcohol in his system, but police observed him being under the influence of something based on his mannerisms, the way he was behaving at the scene of the crash, the test they gave him on the scene of the accident last Friday. He was charged with DUI. He didn't want to take a urine test which would have tested for drugs in his system at that time. He did have a couple of hydrocodone pills in his pocket, and it acknowledged that he had taken some pain medication earlier in the day. So Tiger is going to plead not guilty. He wants a trial by jury. That was the first piece of news that came out yesterday. The second piece of news that came out yesterday was Tiger saying that he's going to be taking some time away from golf. And here's the message. You can see it on the screen. I know and understand the seriousness of the situation I find myself in today, Tiger wrote. I am stepping away for a period of time to seek treatment and focus on my health. This is necessary in order for me to prioritize my well-being and work towards lasting recovery. I'm committed to taking the time needed to return in a healthier, stronger, and more focused place, both personally and professionally. I appreciate your understanding and support and ask for privacy for my family, loved ones, and myself at this time. Look, this isn't the first time we've seen this from Tiger. And I really do wish him well. I really do sincerely hope he gets the help he needs. But I am doubtful, at best, given the fact that we've gone down this road before, and clearly the message hasn't gotten through to Tiger on the seriousness of the situation that he discusses here. And that we found ourselves back in this same situation. It's like Groundhog Day. We found ourselves back in this same situation again. I hope he does get the help he needs. Whether that means just staying away from golf altogether. Because clearly some of this is Tiger taking pain medication to try and get himself healthy or pain-free so that he can play golf again. When clearly that is leading to some of the bad decisions that's taking place here. And I don't know what sort of therapy or process he has to go through to maybe figure out that it just may not be in the cards for him to play golf anymore. And that trying to get pain-free in order to play golf anymore, that it just may not be in the cards for him anymore. That's a very painful decision that he's going to have to come to. But it's one that he's going to have to come to if we want to get to a point where he can make himself right mentally so that he stops making these sorts of decisions. And that's the big story. We're going to talk baseball with David Aardsma, our sports wrap inside baseball for the first time this season. Is coming up next. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to do. Yes, sir. We welcome you back to the show as we continue on this Wednesday. Kurt Heelan still to come to talk NBA. Proud to introduce a new Wednesday segment to the show. Yes, we have the NBA Weekly with Kurt Heelan of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com, but we also talk baseball now on Wednesdays, and that means it's time for the Sports Wrap Inside Baseball. And yes, we are here with our friend, the one and only David Aardsma, former big league reliever and closer, is going to be hanging out with us every Wednesday on the show. Sam Yarnell as well, as we go inside baseball every Wednesday here on the show. All right, ABS. I made this comment yesterday to start the show in the big story, guys. It's all fun and games, and it's cute, and all the fans are cheering. You could already see the umpires are pissed. They're tired of it. They don't want to hear it. You got Mike Esterbrook snapping on the Yankees dugout the other night. This thing's going to come to a head one way or another, and I don't know what it means long-term for ABS and how it's implemented and how it's used. But you could tell, whether it's guys, missing calls by this much or guys missing calls by this much, there's a lot of people unhappy right now about this.
It's new. It's never going to make everybody happy, and umpires for sure not happy about all this. But be better at your job. How about that? Be better. My biggest problem, and we've talked about it, my biggest gripe is there's a half-inch error anyways, and you're calling it though as if 0.1 is God.
Yeah.
And so you're not giving these guys any room of doubt, anything there, and they could be right. Plus, the ABS isn't the strike zone that they were teaching, that they've ever taught umpires. There's so many problems with the system itself that this thing, it has to get hammered out.
David, one of the most interesting things to me about this entire ABS experience that Jason and I have talked about on the show has been the discrepancy between who challenges and the rates at which they get it right. Obviously, catchers are the best because catchers are always the best at everything all the time. But catchers are challenging at like a 65% clip, and they're challenging more than hitters and pitchers. Pitchers are respectfully horrible at it, probably just because they're the farthest away from everybody who's making the call. And then the hitters have some weird angle, I guess, is the justification. They're challenging at under 50%. But as we've gotten two series now into this Major League Baseball regular season, you can kind of see how teams are deciphering who's allowed to challenge and when they're allowed to challenge. And you have managers talking to media after games about, we're going to have to change and set rules for who can challenge when and what situations you can challenge in. I'm curious from your perspective, because you've been in Major League locker rooms, what are those conversations like game to game, manager to player? Is it actual manager yelling at player and saying, this is what you got to do, the way you have to do it? Or is it a learning experience for everybody, coaches and players?
I don't think there's any managers yelling at any players anymore in baseball.
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot unless you really mess up. ABS is a very interesting thing. And I think a lot of teams, just like especially everything in baseball now with analytics and data and all that, they're trying to find out exactly what's the best way to do it. What are the calls that actually matter? What are those situations that matter? And then they're talking to the hitters and the catcher and saying, okay, these are the situations, and these are the only situations you get to call. It doesn't matter how egregious you think the 0-0 fastball down the middle that they call, the ball is. These are the situations you call it. And that's what teams are trying to figure out is what are the situations that matter? Because like if you get the one wrong in the first inning because somebody had to call it, then you don't have it in the ninth inning when it actually does matter. So there, it's like, what battles are you willing to lose to win the war later on? Catchers should, in all honesty, catchers should be the only one calling it outside of hitters in the box at certain moments. Pitchers shouldn't be calling it. I want pitchers to be able to call it. I'm very vocal. It's more about fun than end games. The catcher knows the strike zone better than anybody, and they should know the strike zone better than everybody. They might not be better than everybody, but they know the strike zone better, and it should be their job to know that situation. It's just, this is kind of fun that you're seeing. This is on the hands of the players. This is the players making the decisions, not the dugout. And the last thing I want is that dugout making these decisions, because it's kind of fun to see who's going to call a win.
Max Fried, by the way, one of the rare pitchers that got one right last night, tapping his head, looking for a review. We're Inside Baseball with David Ardsma, hangs out with us every Wednesday on the show. I'm curious to get your thoughts on CB Buckner, because he's had a rough go of it behind the plate, and then last night,
first base,
just missing a guy flat out stepping on the base, and Jake Bowers. I just wonder, is there any, again, I've talked about this a million times before, and this is a question for Dale Scott, our friend, former MLB umpire who comes on the show. Where's the accountability going to come from? For these guys. And one of the things I like about ABS is that it potentially is going to flush out these bad umpires. But this is a whole nother ballgame when you've just got him not even looking at first base and then saying the guy didn't step on first base.
That's the biggest problem, is not looking at first base, saying he didn't step on first base, calling him out when everything is everything about it is egregious. You're not doing your job, and you got the call wrong. We can all own it if we're looking at the baseball and we didn't see the guy go to first base. You can call time, go talk to the other umpires, see if somebody saw it or whatever, and then make the correct call. This is the one that's going to flush out, is the umpire that thinks they saw everything and knows he didn't and still just makes a call anyways. Like with today's day and age, with how many cameras there are, why are you making a call? I guess the only thing is sometimes you have to make a call, because even though you don't see it, and then it can be reviewed anyways. But CB Buckner, I'm just going to say it straight up, should be suspended at the very least. Should have a harsh talking to, whatever you want to say it. But he had missed, 6 calls the other day, something like that too. And like a couple of them were legitimately middle of the zone, not even corners. I give a lot of these guys credit. They're missing 0.1 or whatever it is, corners. Those are tough calls. But he was missing easy, straight up strikes.
Final minute. There you go, Sam.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if he gets the Angel Hernandez treatment, kind of to your point, Jason, that just and David for that matter, we just got to kind of keep it quiet and just stay out of baseball. David, I'm curious, just overall, how do you think this is going to change? I know there's been a ton of analytics already put out about younger umpires are getting calls correct more. They're getting less overturned calls. How do you think this is overall going to change the relationship between players and umpires?
30 seconds.
Oh, the relationship. I don't know how much is going to change too much. Again, umpires are out here battling. They're doing what it is. I think the relationships should be good. You actually should have better relationships with these guys, knowing how tough some of these calls are. The younger umpires are getting it right because they had gone up through the system. They've seen it. Just like with the game clock early on, younger players got that a lot easier.
All right. A couple more things to get to with David. We'll get to them, get to some of the teams that have made news over the first week of the season. Stay with us. Sports Wrap goes inside baseball on Wednesdays, and we do it with our friend David Aardsma, former big league reliever, closer. All right, we flushed out the ABS conversation. Let's talk about some teams. I mean, David, it's got to warm your heart as a pitcher to see what the Yankees are doing right now, because they are shutting down everybody.
You just got to talk about the Yankees.
So a quick thought on the Yankees from the perspective of what they're doing with their arms early on.
Just playing great baseball.
Bullpen,
right?
too. Bullpen's been great. I don't think the bullpen's given up a run yet.
Have they not given up one?
Oh, no, they gave up one They gave up one. It was the Cal Raleigh game.
They have a
winner the
.6
yeah.
ERA.
There you go.
So they've given up what would that be? About one run.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. But what it is again, we know they've had the pieces. We know they've had the guys. It's just they were trying to figure out who were the right players, who were the right guys in the right situations. Devin Williams obviously being that guy in a lot of those situations the last couple of years where it just wasn't successful, right? Now you might have just the right mix. You hit relievers that right year, but they've had a great pitching staff. And so now them putting that together, obviously starting out with the Giants wasn't probably the worst thing ever for them to play that those Giants seem to open up. But they're a great baseball team. It's just going to be over the course of 162. How healthy can they be? They're not the youngest team by any means. And then can that offense sustain as it goes on? Judge will be just fine. It's just a matter of the rest of that offense. You're basically returning the same exact offense. Let's see how they do. The pitching staff last year, it was great. The bullpen wasn't all that good.
No, it wasn't.
But they're returning a lot of great pieces as far as pitching. Can that offense actually sustain it? And that's when you face the beast of the East. When you're talking about the Blue Jays, they're playing amazing baseball. Orioles aren't playing bad. They're starting to get going a little bit. They've lost a couple, but they're not. They're a good baseball team. They're going to be right in at the end.
David, let's talk lockout. We do it all the time on the program. The AP reported yesterday that the MLB PA has a war chest that has grown to $415 million. It's near $500 million. That's up over $100 million from where it was a year ago. It was at $284 million in 2025. I went through and I did the math. If you take every player at all 5 levels of baseball, both of the low A's, double A, triple A, and obviously the majors, and divide up that $415 million, it equates to over $100,000 per player. Does that change your opinion at all as to whether or not we'll have baseball next year?
It doesn't change my opinion, but I think they do. They're seeing this as a year that they have to have all this, but they haven't changed how they keep that money. This isn't something that's just magically new. This is something they do every single time a CBA is coming up. So might be the first time it's actually reported because there's such a stronger conversation about it. But they've been doing this for years. I mean, being a part of the union, being part of the group that made that decision, this is a very normal thing. Now, it might be a lot more just because there's a lot bigger contracts. There's a lot more money in baseball than it's ever been. But they're always prepared every single time this come around. Now they had to have extra because you got 5 rounds instead of 1 round that you're 5 groups instead of 1 group that you're protecting. And especially those 4 bottom groups are the groups that need more money more than anybody else because they're not making it.
And it seems like they're getting on, for lack of a better word, a war footing. When somebody wanted that information to be known. is what I'm saying. Somebody wanted that rhetoric out there to be known. Hey, we've got our war chest set up here so that if we go into, this sort of, prolonged lockout, strike, whatever it may be, we're sort of ready to go. David, we've talked about, the A's as being one of the teams that we wanted to look out for this year. Nick Kurtz can't hit water from a boat right now. I mean, they got their first win last night. This is the same thing that happened to him last year. Everybody was excited about the A's last year. They got off to a dreadful start. The same thing's happening this year.
I want to make so many excuses for them because I'm excited about this team. It's still a young team. They're still getting things going. And yes, we're excited about it because you see them on the field, but we know they're not going to be in the middle of it, when it comes time to October, and those type of games. But again, in a course of 162, it's going to get better than this. But when you're 29th in average, 30 in OBP, 27th in ERA,
Jesus.
not necessarily the best start to the season. You got to get one of those going a little bit better. But again, I like this team. I like how young they are. We've seen them play with energy before. Let's see them get a couple games under their belt. We also saw the Cubs at the beginning of last year just getting smoked left and right. We thought they were done. And then you're like, oh wait, the Dodgers might be the best team of all time. Who they're playing ends up being a lot better than what we were looking at on the other side of the field.
True.
And you say, hey, you give them a break when they actually start putting some series together.
David, we got the news throughout the beginning portion of this week that some major money was handed out. The Brewers extending Cooper Pratt, he's currently in AAA, but spent the majority of last season in AA. I believe they gave him something like $80 million. Then they're giving Colt Emerson, the Mariners are darn near $100 million with escalators up to 130. What is your biggest takeaway from seeing all these teams giving all this money to these guys who haven't even made their debuts in Major League Baseball yet?
I think what they're seeing is the future of their organization, where these players go in. Yeah, Cooper Pratt, I think it ended up being about $50 million. But you see the roadmap for them and what they are in the clubhouse, what they're like around their teammates, that they are leaders, that they're not just ball players. You don't give this money to somebody who you just they might be really good one day. They're leaders. They're men in that clubhouse, and they're getting people behind them, whether they're in the minors or in the big leagues. You can see leadership, no problem. And so these type of players are earning that not just on the field. They're earning it behind the closed doors. They're watching them work, watching them all that type of stuff. It's interesting from a major league standpoint that you're willing to give this money out without ever seeing them on the field. But I also played in a day where I saw Evan Longoria get a whole lot of money before he came to the big leagues. Kind of became the franchise player, right? The only player, the Rays that you just talk about. And so those are the type of players that these guys have to be, and they're just taking a bet. I like it. I think these are the type of things teams should be doing somewhat more often, very specifically. But then you get to a Pirates situation where we have guys that Skeens ain't going to be there forever, right? Because he didn't sign something like this. And I do like it when teams at least take a shot. And you know what? When they hit, they're geniuses.
And Connor Griffin tearing the cover off the ball at AAA already. Hopefully we'll see him soon enough. Yeah, no, didn't see that coming. David Ardsma will join us every week. Sports Wrap goes inside baseball every Wednesday. Always appreciate you, my friend. Be well. Have a great week. We'll do it again next week. From baseball and David Ardsma to our Sports Wrap NBA Weekly. It's time to talk hoops with our good friend Kurt Heelan of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. I got to be honest. I keep it a buck, as my friend Vlad would say. Baseball started last Thursday or Wednesday or whatever it was. And it has diverted my attention from the NBA. And I was so plugged in all season long to the NBA. And it's not that I've completely unplugged. I've been watching games here and there. But you notice you haven't gotten as many text messages from me over the last 5 or 6 days. It's because it's between the NCAA tournament and baseball starting. I haven't been as plugged in, paying attention, but not as plugged in as I would typically be. So I want to start on a couple of individual fronts in the awards season, because I was just saying to you off air, I was shocked to look at the MVP race this morning and find in the odds over on FanDuel that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's minus 450 and Victor Wembanyama's plus 350. The number hasn't been this close between those two all season long, it feels like. Is this the politicking? Is it the pure numbers? How is this number tightened as much as it has, Kurt?
Wembanyama's got a good case and is really upped his game. There is a recency bias that comes in for voters, even though we try to avoid it. It does come in, and Wemby has been on TV more and putting up 41 last night against the Bulls, but it still counts. You see the way he now just impacts the game on both ends, and like we discussed, last week on the weekly that was on YouTube, the part of the podcast and show that went to YouTube, we were talking. He's at the point now where is he the best player in the world? It is worth a conversation, even if you're still going to land on Jokic or maybe Shea or whatever. You're at least in that. He's in that conversation in his fourth season at age 21. It's kind of crazy how good he is at his age. So he's in the mix. I think his late push has a lot to do with that. That said, my guess is, the next time Tim Bontemps does his straw poll, my guess is Shea's going to have a pretty healthy advantage. It'll probably change that market.
If we look at the final 6-7 games for both these teams, 8 games, whatever it is, look, you're talking about the Spurs being 2 back, and they only have to tie, and they win the outright, best record in the NBA. Now, I know they've got Denver a couple of times. I've looked at the schedules, and it's hard for me to make an argument they pick up 2 games over the final 7 or 8. But if they do,
that will change some things for voters. Look, does
he win MVP? Does Wemby win MVP if they wind up with the best overall record?
I still don't think it happens. But the argument for Shea, part of the argument is for Shea is that. And they're on pace to win 65 games again and have the number 1 seed, and that matters. But if you take that away and give it to the Spurs, and again, if the Thunder are focused, are they going to lose 2 more times? I hate with 8 games. It might not happen. That said, if they pass them, that will probably influence some voters pretty heavily.
Give me a thought here, and 2 of those games, by the way, for the Thunder, if I'm not mistaken, are against the Lakers, which will be interesting to see how the Lakers match up with them over those couple of games.
Yeah, the Lakers are playing so well on both ends, but I am curious when you get into a situation where you play a team, it's either the back-to-backs or it's not back-to-back in this case, but close to each other.
2 and 3 games, yeah.
Yeah, 2 and 3 games, whatever it is. You get some adjustments, right? You get the playoff adjustment kind of things that you don't get in the regular season. And I think that's always been the concern with the Lakers end, which is as good as they are running right now and as good as their defense is playing, you let me target them for 7 games and I can go after, I can set up sets to go after, especially Reeves. I can make Luka work harder on defense to tire him out. I can kind of try to expose on DeAndre Ayton and frustrate him. There's things that you can do that don't really happen in a 1-game one-off. So I'm curious how that shakes out. But yeah, I think those games matter a lot for the Lakers because there's still a sense. Look, I'm talking to somebody I trust yesterday, and he's like, they can beat Houston in the first round. Minnesota's a toss-up. They lose to Denver. The belief is they're still not that great. They're not in the upper tier. If they want to make that case, those games can help.
I think they can beat Denver because our argument is them not being athletic enough, in terms of, if they got to race up and down the floor with these younger teams. Denver's not that. Denver's biggest star is a guy who lumbers up and down the floor. I think they could actually hang with Denver for 7 games. Just my thought. I want to get your opinion on this Steph Curry situation because I was shocked when Steve Kerr came out and said, look, we're not just bringing him back for the play-in. If he can't play meaningful games before the end of the season, we're not just going to bring him back for the play-in. That took me by surprise. I thought they would just hold him out, have him scrimmage, have him do whatever. But it sounds like if he can't go and play a couple of games before the end of the season, he's not going to play in that play-in game. What's your sense here, and what are you hearing in terms of Curry right now?
Curry will probably be back Sunday when they face the Houston Rockets. Kerr said officially he is out tonight against the Spurs. Bet the over on whatever Wemby's going to. They don't have anybody who can slow him.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Well, who does? But especially that team. Number two, then they play Cleveland on a back-to-back. He's unlikely to play in that one. But then they're off until Sunday. And I think that's when you could see him back. And that gives him 5 games, if he plays in all of them, down the stretch to kind of get his legs under them so he's ready to be eliminated in the first or second round of the play-in.
Well said. Kurt Heelan's going to hang for one more segment, more NBA talk. It's the Sports Wrap, NBA Weekly. Kurt Heelan with us from NBC Sports. Pro basketball talk at NBCSports.com. Breaking the hearts of Warrior fans, just saying, yeah, Curry will come back just in time to get eliminated in the. Really? Even if.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I don't think they're as good as Denver. I mean, let me rephrase that. Well, they're not as good as Denver, but I don't think they're as good as Phoenix with Devin Booker, and now they've got Dylan Brooks back, and that's been a solid team all year. Jordan Ott should deserve some Coach of the Year votes for what he's done there, or getting on the ballot at least. Joe, for the betting people out there, Joe's going to run away with that one. Missoula. I don't think that they're better than the Clippers the way Kawhi Leonard is playing and the way with Darius Garland in the mix and the way the Clippers are playing right now. And the Clippers just lost last night to a very feisty and challenging Portland team that when Denny Avdia's on the way he was on in that game and he's getting downhill is a real problem. I'm not sure they get out of that first game against Portland. If that's the 9-10, and it might not be, the Clippers could fall to 9 at this point because that's now a toss-up with Portland. I don't know that they can beat either of those teams, but then to win a second game and both of those on the road, I don't see it for this Warriors team. Then they go into the summer and reload and go get LeBron James or some other big name.
Kudos to Tiago Splitter, by the way. I mean, stepping into what he stepped into in that situation in Portland, kudos to him. He's done a fantastic job in Portland.
And the buzz is that he keeps the job. We'll see. I mean,
I hope so. He should.
He should. New owner just now taken over. That always should make the entire front office of any organization worry a little bit. But I think that they're going to keep Tiago and keep the power structure in place at least for now.
What does it say to you how well Detroit has played without Cade Cunningham?
I'll tell you what. I was big on they're out in the second round. If you don't have a second score, you don't have enough camp. And I'm modifying that slightly now. I want to see what the matchups exactly end up being. But if they get, it looks like, assuming things follow. Look, the top 4 in the East, I think, are better than the 5 and below. So if assuming Cleveland gets through as the 4 and Detroit's the 1, I before thought Cleveland could get that, especially with Jared Allen back. But I'm now not convinced. The way they defend, they do this. They've got enough shot creations. Dennis Jenkins has been phenomenal for them out of nowhere. And now you got to wonder, his confidence in his step up and play gives them a guy they can lean on a little bit as a second creator in the playoffs. Their defense, like I said, has been locking teams down. And suddenly, I still don't think they're the best team in the East. I still don't think they buy Boston or New York if whoever comes out of that 7-game battle. But I do think that they could reach the conference finals, which would be massive for them.
Couple of interesting sort of half off the court issues. Mark Cuban talking about regret in selling to the Adelsons and Dumont and sort of everything that's sort of transpired since then. He dragged Jason Kidd into it, and Kidd clearly wasn't thrilled about that. What was your big takeaway of what Cuban was trying to express in that?
I wish I still had control of basketball operations. Honestly, I think that he thought for a long time up until it was too late to get out. And he didn't. What he said is he didn't regret selling. Remember, he enjoys the large windfall to his pocketbook, and the day-to-day stress of running, the team. But he wanted to have some say in basketball operations. He has none, and that, of course, is part of what led. I don't think any of us disagree. There's 0.0 chance they trade Luka, right? If he's on there, so I think that's it. I think he just he talks about in there the toll of the emotional investment in that same interview. It's like, yeah, it's just you're up and down like a roller coaster with the team every night, and you're living and dying with this, and it's just a lot. And the weird thing about I don't want my kids to work for the basketball team, which was interesting, but I think he also misses that. With that intensity comes some highs and lows, but especially highs that I think in retrospect, he just misses.
The Jaden Ivey story with him being cut loose by the Bulls. I mean, it sort of came out of nowhere for me. I actually didn't even, of all the people in the world, I didn't even know about sort of the gibberish that he was sort of spouting, and I'm clearly unrighteous. So I'm trying to sort of piece together how we got to a point where this thing got to a level where they said they just had to cut him altogether. And now you've got, other players around sports who are trying to support him, but kind of not support him.
Yeah.
What is this? Like, how did we get here?
It starts here. He only played 4 games for the Bulls after playing a limited role in Detroit this year. He has had a left knee issue he's had some work on it. It has not gone away. And he's just not as explosive. He is not the same player. He has not been as good on the court. To the point Detroit gave up on him, got him out at the trade deadline in the Vucevic deal. And the Bulls played him 4 games. So he wasn't impacting anything on the court, and he is what would have been a restricted free agent at the end of the year. And the Bulls are like, is it? So he's already kind of on this edge of like, are they going to pay him? Are they going to bring him back? How's that going to go? And then he goes on a rant that kind of goes at look, man, it's a business at the bottom line. And I'm not even going to get into how wrong I think what he said is said. He said a couple of things that were pretty horrific. He also said, by the way, he's had suicidal thoughts and points and all that stuff, which is, I hope he's getting some help for whatever he needs. If you're insulting a part of the fan base and being a distraction and you're not good, you're done. It doesn't really, honestly, it doesn't matter what the sport is. If you're on special teams in the NFL and you're suddenly a social media pariah, dude, you're done. Like, you're not worth keeping around. I can replace you. And that's where he is. And Ivy's got to do something because he's now an unrestricted free agent, and who's going to pick him up?
Going to be very interesting to watch. Kurt Halen, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Always appreciate you in the NBA Weekly.
Hey, anytime, buddy.
All right, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Wednesday. But before we do, a couple of reminders. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show. Crystal clear audio, Monday through Friday. 45 minutes, largely commercial free. We encourage you to do so. We also have the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. This is the place for all things sports wrap. We have the Monday through Friday TV version of the show available there. It is fantastic, I promise you. You're watching it now. You must think it's fantastic. So make sure to go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Sports Wrap Shorts are there. The Sports Wrap Spotlight, Inside Baseball, the NBA Weekly. It's all right there for you every week, every day on the Sports Wrap YouTube channel. Sports Wrap Shorts, 1 to 3 minute long videos, top stories of the day, the big games every night. We've got them covered for you in Sports Wrap Shorts. Sports Wrap Shorts also available on our TikTok, Sports Wrap Jason Page, and on our Instagram, Sports Wrap Jason Page. And now, without any further delay on this Wednesday, it's time for some odds. And ends. Odds and ends, there will be no Tiger Woods at the Masters this year. He made an announcement yesterday, shortly after announcing he was going to be going to court and that he wanted a trial by jury in his misdemeanor DUI case. Sam Yarnell, And right after I recorded a sports wrap short saying, wow, trial by jury, he's being very aggressive in this case. Right after I created the sports wrap short for that, news comes out that he's not playing the Masters. That he wants to, it sounds like he's going to go rehab, try to get himself right. Sounds like we've heard this before. So, and look, look, the DUI stuff drives me nuts. It's maddening to me. But I honestly do wish him well. I don't know what's next in the life of Tiger Woods. It just goes to show you that all the money in the world can't buy you sometimes the things that we all think it would buy you. Just from a human level, looking at this story and sort of everything that's gone on in this guy's life over the last 20 years to where we are now. And I keep asking the question, how did we get here? And it's a whole different analysis on how we got to where we are right now. But Tiger Woods not playing the Masters. Sam, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, tough. It is, reassuring that, we talk so much about, like, just from a human aspect, it's tough having these people, out in society. It's good that he'll get help and hopefully become somebody who's, more acceptable to society again. Because, that's not. And I think everyone kind of agrees. It's just not. So, yeah, it's good. I feel really bad for Charlie Woods. I can't imagine, this must be a really tough time for Charlie Woods, who is also, a very good golfer, has absolutely nothing to do with this, and now is getting started with his Division I men's golf career. It's just a tough time for all that to come together. So that's just who I was thinking of as this news broke yesterday. It's really tough to... I would imagine, obviously, I was never anywhere close to this good of an athlete, never had anywhere close to this good of athletes around me, but it's got to be tough to have somebody along for your athletic journey your entire life, and then you get to, at least to that point, the peak of that athleticism and that support system not be there and in fact be going, somewhere else. It must be tough. So, yeah, I'm thinking of Charlie Woods in these next couple of days, because I'm sure that's hard for him to deal with.
A couple of notes from the NFL. The Jaguars are going to play their games next season in Orlando, Camping World Stadium. Yeah, because the final year of renovations is going underway. I'm sorry, 2027, not this year, the following year. They'll be playing their games in Orlando at Camping World Stadium. I've actually been in there. I've actually called a game, a UFL game. In that stadium. I mean, look, it doesn't matter where they put the Jaguars. I don't think anybody cares. I don't even know if fans in Jacksonville really care. Duval about where Jacksonville Jaguars play games. But 2027, they're going to play games in Orlando as they finish up renovations on that studio. I've got studio renovations on the brain. Can I tell you why? Because we're getting ready to put up new paneling in the studio. That's why. See? There you go. So that's why I have studio renovations on the brain. So they're going to go and play there. Oh, can I throw one more in? Geno Smith is going to lead the Jets to the promised land. So says Aaron Glenn, the Jets head coach. Words that he may regret one day, Sam Yarnell?
Yeah, whatever. That team might win 2 games this year if they're lucky. Let me throw one at you, Jason.
Okay.
It's a little off the cuff here.
I like it.
Italy failed to qualify for the World Cup yesterday. They had to win against Bosnia and Herzegovina, and they lost in penalties. It's the 3rd straight World Cup that the Italians have missed. What's the panic level in Capri right now for the footballistas?
I just thought you were going to ask me to spell Herzegovina. That's what I was worried about. That would have been the level of panic in Italy. That would have been my level of panic had you asked me to spell Herzegovina. It's going to do it for us on the show tonight. Thank you to Kurt Heelan. Thank you to David Ardsma, who's running the kids to school as we speak. Thanks to you, Sam Yarnell. As always, tomorrow, Dennis Bernstein on the show to talk hockey and a whole bunch more. Oh, yeah, we'll talk pucks. Talk about your Buffalo Sabres. Going to wrap it up for this Wednesday edition of Sports Wrap. We'll see you back here on Thursday. Bye-bye. Hi there, I'm Jason Page. You like what you're watching? Subscribe. We've got Sports Wrap Shorts on this channel. We've got the show. We've got clips from the show. What else do you have to do? You probably follow a lot of other things that aren't half of as they're not half as exciting as this show is. So what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, follow the channel, watch the content. Bye.